In the American judicial system, the accused always has the presumption of innocence. Now, what this means is that the prosecutor has the burden of proof. In other words, it isn't just enough that the prosecutor show that his case is more plausible than the defendant's case. Because he has the burden of proof, the prosecutor is held to a higher standard. The prosecutor must show that the defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And this is across the board for all criminal cases. It doesn't matter what the accusation is or how strong the evidence is. Going in from the start, the prosecutor always has the burden of proof. And the reason this is done is in order to protect the citizen, the individual. Because a criminal case is the government against the individual. And so any criminal case where you have the people versus person X, the burden of proof is always going to be on the people. Because generally the government has more resources. And of course, the founding fathers, when they drew up the Constitution, were familiar with governments that tended to be, shall we say, tyrannical. And there's quite a few of those still around today. Now, civil cases, on the other hand, that's a different matter, because that tends to be citizen against citizen. Say, you're suing me because I promised to edit a video for you, and breach of contract, or whatever it may be. And there is no burden of proof. Generally there, the suer and the suee go before the court, they each present their cases, and then the judge and the jury weigh the evidence, and they decide it based on the standard of preponderance of evidence. In other words, whichever one seems more plausible, and it can be 51-49. Now granted, the person suing still, if it's a completely frivolous lawsuit, it's generally not going to make it to trial. It'll get weeded out before then, but that's kind of a basic overview of how it works in the courts. Now, what about burden of proof in philosophical discussions?
Difference between 60 seconds.
Now, in philosophical discussions here on YouTube and elsewhere, I've seen the burden of proof invoked in the form of the person making the claim, or the person making the positive claim, carries the burden of proof. I see this particularly when applied to ontological claims, such as person A claims X exists, person B claims X does not exist, and person B says person A has the burden of proof, since person A is the one making the positive claim. Although I've seen the burden of proof, invoked for other claims as well. And so I'm just wondering, is that really justified? Philosophically, is invoking the burden of proof, is that philosophically justified for this or for other cases? Or is it more of a convention of debate etiquette? Or is it just an excuse to not defend your position? So my question to you is, do you ever invoke or accept the burden of proof? And if so, when, under what conditions, and why? I await your answers. Video responses are welcome. Thank you.